ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ तत्सत् हरि ओम्. So we are on the 7th mantra of the Mandukya Upanishad. So let us chant it again. Nantah prajnam na bahishprajnam
Nanta pragyam na bahispragyam
no bhayatah prajnam na prajnanaghanam
no bhayatah pragyam na prajnanaghanam
na prajnam na prajnam
na pragyam na pragyam
adrishtam avivaharyam agrahyam alakshanam achintyam
adrishyam avyavaharyam agrahyam alakshanam
achintyam
achintyam
avypadesyam
अव्यपदेशम
ekatma pratyasaram
एकात्मप्रत्ययसारम्
प्रपंचोपशमं शांतं शिवम अद्वैतम
प्रपञ्चोपशमं शान्तं शिवम् अद्वैतम्
चतुर्थं मन्यन्ते स आत्मा स विज्ञेयः
चतुर्थं मन्यते स आत्मा स विज्ञेयः
So you should be a bit more, practice the mantra, because the other thing you should remember. So we have seen the two portions of the mantra, which talk about the Vishwa, Tejasa, and Prajna. And now we are coming to the last and most critical section of the mantra. And this is the one, Ekatma Pratyaya Saram Prapanchopashamam Shantam Shivam Advaitam Chaturtham Manyante Sa Atma Sa Vigneyaha. This is the last portion. And Ekatma Pratyaya Saram. This is the definition of Turyam. Ek Atma, it is the non-dual, pure consciousness which has to be recognized how? Through the experience of I. When I say I have to understand that I am talking about my real nature, Brahman, Turyam. So I am here in the class, I am drinking water, I am walking, I am talking. See, the word I, all of us use, all of us experience. And it is a first person singular. And that's why it's called the Atma Pratyaya. So that Ekatma Pratyaya Saram, you have to break into Eka Atma Pratyaya Saram. Right? Out of that, the two middle words, Atma Pratyaya, means what? The I thought. Pratyaya is a thought. So Atma Pratyaya, the I thought, or the I experience, or the I cognition. So the Turyam, remember whenever I say Turyam, it is Brahman only. So that Turyam has to be recognized how? Through the I thought, through the Atma Pratyaya. And what kind of I thought is that? Ekam. Ekam means that which is non-dual, one continuous principle. It's not broken anytime. As we saw in Gita, Yathadehe Kaumaram Yavanam Jara. Throughout all the phases of the human body, what remains? That Ekatma Pratyayam, that Turyam, that Atma, it remains unchanged. So the I, which I am using when I was a child, the I which I use now in old age, the I which I used in my youth, and the middle age, all these eyes are the same. It's one continuous experience. What has changed is the bodies have changed. But that body is not me. I will again request people, please don't unmute yourself. Okay, because it disturbs the recording. So, in all these stages, childhood, youth, middle age, old age, I have been unchanged. There is one continuous I through all the changing experience of the bodies. And that is the way to understand thorium. And that is what is meant here by saram. So Shankara says that saram here has to be taken as the pramanam, the methodology of understanding thorium. And what is the saram? Ekatma pratyaya, that unbroken I thought, which is present in you throughout your life. From the moment that you can understand I am till last moment of your life, this I thought has remained unchanged. We think when we say I, many people think it is the body, but it is not. That's what Shankara says. It is basically the consciousness principle that is being referred to. Now, now a little technical discussion. When I say that I understand thorium, Brahman, through a continuous experience, continuous I thought, like what I am happy, I am sad, I am tall, I am hungry, I am walking, I am talking. What is common to all this? I am. So the continuous experience, the continuous thought, Atma Pratyaya, I am, indicates what? That I am a conscious principle. And this consciousness principle is experienced all the time. And to that consciousness principle, which is basically attributeless, what happens is that I add various adjectives, attributes like happy, unhappy, talking, walking, all these things I add. But the mantra says, remember that all these attributes, they are all superimpositions. They are not continuous. They come and they go, right? You are happy at times, you are sad at times. You walk at times, you talk at times. So the walking, the talking, the happiness, the sorrow, it all comes and goes. They are not continuously present. So that is the idea being conveyed. Ekam is the continuous presence of Atma Pratyaya, of the I thought, of the I experience. And on that continuous I experience, these thoughts are other thoughts like happy, sad, walking, talking, all these thoughts, they are superimposed, they come and go. Agama payanaha. And we saw whatever comes and goes, whatever is temporary, is not my real nature. And therefore, all these adjectives, they cannot be referring to my real nature. What is my real nature? The only ekatma part, continuous part as I am. When you were a child, you said I am. When you were a youth, you said I am. When you were in middle age, you said I am. Today also, in old age, you are saying I am. So that I am is continuous, unchanged feature. That is consciousness. That is Brahman. And how to extract that Brahman from I am a person, I am a happy man, I'm a tall man, I'm a short man, I'm a husband, I'm a wife. You have to drop all the adjectives, drop all these attributes which are not continuous. What is not ekam, you drop. And then what remains is what is ekam. So whenever you drop from your language, whatever comes and goes, whatever is temporary when you drop, then only you will be in the Turiam aspect. That continuous I am is Turiam. If you take ownership of the attributes, then you are either Vishwa or you are Tajasa or you are Prajna. But without the attributes, you are neither Vishwa, nor Tajasa, nor Prajna. Without the attributes, you are pure consciousness. You are Turiam only. And this is the Saram. This is the way, the Pramanam for understanding the I experience, the Ek Atma Pratyaya. Right. So whenever I see the bangle, chain, and ring, I should not forget that in and through all these, there is the continuous part which is gold. The bangle form, the chain form, the ring form, these are all non continuous parts. Similarly, when I look at myself, the continuous I am is there. Anything else I add, tall, short, Vishwa, Tajasa, anything else you add basically is an attribute, and that is what you are not. Remember that when you say Vishwa Tajasa, Vishwa says I am Vishwa, Tajasa says I am Tajasa. But Prajna cannot say I am Prajna because the mind is not available to him. The organs are not functional. So Prajna won't say, but Prajna is to be added as understanding purposes. You are not the Prajna also. Right? So that Turiam is available in all the three states. But to recognize the thurium, you have to drop the changing attributes and retain the non-changing continuous part, which is the ekatma pratyaya. That non-variable I am in all states of awareness. That is thurium. Okay, so that is the explanation of thurium. Each word is extremely important over here. That's why we are taking time. The next word is prapanchopashamam. All right. Prapanchopashamam is prapancha upashamam. Two words, prapancha upashamam. And it's a very, very important word because the entire second chapter of the Mandukya Karikas, right? The first chapter, with the first chapter, all the mantras will be over. From second, third, and fourth chapters, they are only Gaudapada Karikas. So the entire second chapter, I think 38 Karikas, they are basically an explanation of this one word, Prapancho Pashama. Right. So what is Prapanchaha? Prapanchaha is the three worlds, the three universes which are there referred to in the first three padas. The Sthula Prapancha, Sukshma Prapancha, and Karana Prapancha. That is included in Prapanchaha, plural. Okay. And Upasama means withdrawal. Therefore, Prapancha Upasama means that which is not, which is withdrawn from the three worlds. So, Prapancha Upasama means that Turiam is not connected to these three worlds. It has withdrawn from the three worlds. It's not the exact. We got to take it as different from. The word Prapancha Pashamam therefore means that these three prapanchas, they are really not there because Turiam is not connected with them. And therefore, Prapancha Pashamam is taken as the negation of the first three padas. Sthula Prapancha, Sukshma Prapancha, and Karana Prapancha. So, what is so important about this particular negation, negating the three universes? So, we have to understand two important principles. Of course, all of us know. I'm just repeating so that we remember. Anything that is existing cannot be negated, right? Something which exists cannot be negated, and that which does not exist, it need not be negated. I'll repeat. An existing entity cannot be negated. That comes from the very definition of Sat from Tattva Bodha, right? That which exists in all the three time frames. So existing entity cannot be negated. And if an entity is non-existing, there is no need to negate. Which means what? Whatever is negated cannot be Sat. because Sat existence principle can never be negated. So whatever is negated cannot be Sat. On the other hand, whatever is negated cannot be Asat also. Why? It's important to understand this principle. Whatever is negated cannot be Sat because Sat cannot be negated. On the other hand, I am saying that whatever is negated cannot be Asat also. Why?
Asat need not be negated.
Asat need not be negated. Right. Asat means it is not there. So where is the question of negating something which is not there? And therefore comes the critical part. If whatever is negated cannot be Sat and whatever is negated cannot be Asat, then whatever is negated has to be something which is neither Sat nor Asat. Sat, Asat, Lakshanam. It has to be different from both Sat and Asat. And Shruti is negating creation, Srishti, through the word Prapanchopashama. And therefore, because the world is negated, because Srishti is negated, using the argument we just finished, Srishti cannot be Sat, nor can it be Asat. Therefore, Srishti has to be Sat, Asat, Vilakshanam. Another word for that is what? One, Mithya. So, Sat, Asat, Vilakshanam. Different from Sat and Asat, it is called Mithya. Right? For example, a dream is also Mithya. So, in the seventh mantra, the mantra is saying that the world is Mithya. It doesn't really exist. Right? Therefore, the first three padas which represent these three worlds, they are also Mithya and say they cannot be counted. Okay. So with this, we'll stop the explanation of Prapancha Pasamam. We'll go into it in great detail in chapter 2. The next word is Advaitam. So Advaitam is also extremely significant. And the entire third chapter of this Karika, which is called Advaita Prakaranam, it has got 48 Karikas. That entire 48 Karikas, or the third chapter, is an explanation of only this one word Advaitam. Okay, so that we will park for the time being. And then the next one is Chaturtham Manyante. It is said to be the fourth. What is said to be the fourth? The word Turiam is said to be the fourth. And literally the word Turiam means the fourth entity. Okay. Then comes the question. If the three padas have been negated, leaving only Advaitam, why are we talking about the fourth entity? Right? It is logical. We have negated, Shruti has negated the first three padas. And that says when the three padas have been negated, there is only Advaitam. And if there is Advaitam, how can you refer to the Advaitam as a fourth entity? Chaturtham Manyante, how can you say? So here the idea is that people who have not really understood the Shruti's content, they tend to think that there are four states, right? Very, very common mistake. They say there is Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, and Turyam. That is how they count. So, along with the three states, they think this fourth state is also a state. They think that Turyam is a state. They think that consciousness is the fourth entity. Right? So they have mistaken what? What is their mistake? They have mistaken Vishwa as Satyam, Taijasa as Satyam, Prajna as Satyam, and therefore Manyante, they take Turyam also as Satyam, as the fourth entity. Turyam is Satyam. But because they have taken Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna as Satyam, they count Turyam as the fourth one. Right? But those who have understood the Shruti, what does Shruti say? Vishwa, Tajasa, Prajna are Mithya. And therefore only Turyam is Advaitam, the only Sat. Okay, so then Shantam. Shantam means that which doesn't get disturbed. So that Brahman, that thorium is not contaminated, is not disturbed by the Srishti. Just as if you fall into the dream sea, the dreamer falls into the dream sea, the waters may drown the dreamer, but the water cannot touch the waker. The dream fire cannot burn the waker's body. Similarly, this Mithya world, universe cannot disturb you, the Satyam. Okay, all the ideas we'll see in much more detail later. The next word is Shivam. So Shivam Advaitam. We have done Shantam, Prapancha Pasamam, Advaitam. So next word is Shivam. Shivam means Shant, basically it means that there is Dukkha Rahitam. So Ananda Swarupam. Turya means Ananda Swarupam. Shantam means free from sorrow. Shivam means Dukkha Rahitam, free from Dukkham. So very subtle change, or subtle idea. Shantam is free from sorrow, undisturbed. Shivam means free from sorrow also, Dukkha Rahitam. Both mean Dukkha Rahitam. So actually Ananda Swarup and Sa Atma Savignaya. Clearly understand Savignaya. You should know Sa Atma. That Turyam is nothing but the Atma. Okay, so Shivam, Shantam, and Turyam. They're all words which are interchangeable. The very nature of Turyam is all these words. You should understand that Shivam, Shantam, Dukharhitam, Anand Swarupam, all these basically refer to Turyam only, the nature of Turyam. And such a Turyam, which is free from sorrow, free from disturbances, which is Ananda Swarupam, Savigneyaha, you should know that that Turyam is Sa Atma, is that Atma only. Okay, with this, the seventh mantra is over. Now we will see Karikas again. Okay, now we go to the next one, which is Karika number 10. So we will chant. Please unmute yourself. Nivritte sarva dukkhanam
निवृत्ते
निवृत्ते
सर्वदुःखानां
ईशानः प्रभुरव्ययः
ईशानप्रभुरव्ययः
ईशानप्रभव्ययः
अद्वैत सर्वभावानां
अद्वैतसर्वभावानां
देवस्तूर्यो विभुस्मृतः.
देवसूर्यो विभुस्मृतः
Okay. So, the entire seventh mantra, which we have just finished studying, is summarized, explained again by Gaudapada in this Karika. So, Turyaha Smritaha. So, Smritaha is literally recalling, but you can take it as it is called Turya Smritaha. It is called Turyaha. Right? Now, remember that in the mantra, we didn't see the word Turyam at all. Right? It is being borrowed from here. Mantra uses what word? Chaturtham. Right? So mantra doesn't say Turyam. And Gaudapada here says that Turyam, that Chaturtham is called Turyam. That Atma, that Brahman is called Turyam. And what kind of Turyam is it? Ishanaha. So that Turya Atma is Ishanaha, is the master. And Sarva Dukkhanam Nivrattehe. That Turyam Nivrattehe is free from Sarva Dukkhanam, all sorts of pain. And what sort of pain? Prajna, Taijasa, Vishwalakshanaha. That pain which is in the form of Prajna and Tajasa, which are the signs of the three worlds, Vishwalakshanaha. And then Prabhuhu. So Prabhuhu is again an explanation of Ishanaha. And Shankaracharya in his commentary says there is a difference. in these two words. So Ishanaha means the one who is free from problems. Ishanaha means the one who is himself free from all problems. Prabhu, there is a subtle difference. The one who is free from problems is Ishanaha. But Prabhu is that person who, while he is free from all problems, is also capable of freeing other people from their problems. So Ishanaha, free from all problems. Prabhu, the one who has the capacity to free other people from their problems, to take away the problems of others. And nivrittehi sarvadukhanam, since Turyam is itself free, it is capable of freeing other people from problems. How? How is that possible? Because when one knows that one is Turyam, he knows what? He knows that I am the Turyam who is free from all problems. And in that way, your problems are taken away. You are freed from your problems simply by disassociating with the anatma, which is never free from problems. So that is meant by prabhu. Prabhu means it is capable of freeing you from your problems by the knowledge that those problems are not really yours. Then avyayaha. Avyayaha means which does not deviate from its real nature. It has got a changeless swarupa, always turyam. Even when it is associated with the three avasthas, it doesn't change. It's a viparta upadana karana. Without changing, it appears as something else. I hope everybody knows the difference between vivarta upadana karanam and parinami upadana karanam. What is the difference? Give an example.
Milk and curd is parinami.
Sorry?
Milk and curd. Milk, excuse me. Milk becoming curd
Is
is a
parinami. Yeah.
parinami.
Why? Explain.
Because there's a change of form and it cannot go back to becoming milk again. The milk
Good.
changes into the
Yeah.
curd.
And vivarta?
Mm. Vivarta, what example?
So vivarta is the non-changing material cause. So vivarta upadana
Yes,
karanam, like the
yes.
rope becoming the snake.
Rope becoming the snake. Right, right.
Right? The
Okay.
rope doesn't change its nature, but there is a
Yes.
snake projected on top. So that is vivarta upadana karanam. So avyayaha means it never deviates from its real nature, even when it is appearing as connected to the Jagrada Avastha, Swapna Avastha, and Sushupti Avastha, or to the three worlds also. Then Devaha. Devaha means effulgent. Here Turyaha, self-revealing. The Div Dhatu, self-revealing, effulgent. There one, Turya is self-effulgent. It can be recognized without the help of anything else. Right? So when do you recognize yourself? All the time. Remember that in Yoga Shastram, very often they say that you recognize Brahman only during Nirvikalpa Samadhi. But that's all confusion. You recognize yourself all the time. Whether you recognize yourself as Brahman is different. But the I am, the Atma Pratyaya, is there all the time. That is the self-recognition, self-awareness. Whether you know that I is Brahman is a different matter. But that you are, everybody knows. You don't have to ask your neighbor, am I there? No, you know you are there. Then Sarva Bhavanam. So here Bhava means all the states. So Sarva Bhavanam in all the three states, I am self-evident during Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti also. And where am I located? Vibhuhu. Vibhuhu is all-pervading. Sarva Vyapakaha. Limitless. So Advaita Sarva Bhavanam, it is that limitless undivided principle which is present among all the multiple divided things. This is the nature of Turiya. Wherever there is multiplicity, it is anatma. But what lends existence to the anatma is the atma or Brahman. Therefore, wherever there is anatma, remember atma is always there. One is satyam, one is thuriam. So as I said, Prapanchopasamam and Advaitam will be dealt in great detail in the second and third chapters. So right now we will go to the 11th Karika. We will chant. Please unmute yourself. कार्यकारणबद्धौ तौ
कार्यकारणबद्धौ
कार्यकारणबद्धौ
इष्येते विश्वतेजसौ
विश्येते विश्वतेजसौ
प्राज्ञकारणबन्धस्तु
प्राज्ञकारणबद्धस्तु
तौ तौ तूर्येण सिद्धितः
द्वौ तौ सूर्येण सिद्ध्यतः
So now Gaudapada is giving us a analysis of the four padas. So analysis means what? You compare the you investigate the common features and you inquire into the uncommon features also. So common features is sadharma. So sadharmi vicharaha, analysis of the common features, and vaidharmi vicharaha, analysis of the uncommon features. Okay, so this is a particular prakriya, seeing the common and the uncommon features. And what is the reason to use this prakriya? Let us look at the Rajju Sarpa example. So what is the Rajju Sarpa example? There is a rope which is lying on a village road. The road is not very well lit because the street lamps are far away. They are not close to each other, they are far away. And therefore, in between two street lamps where there is not too much light, and at the same time there is not total darkness, in that place there is a rope lying, right? So there is partial light and partial darkness, which is very important. This idea that there is partial light and partial darkness is very important because of the partial light, when you are walking along the road, there is a partial light. So you are able to see there is something lying on the road. Okay, that something is in inverted commas. Because the light is dim, you are able to see that there is something lying on the road. Had there been no light at all, you would not have been able to see that there is something lying on the road because total darkness, right? So that's what they say total darkness is bliss. Total ignorance is bliss. There is no problem at all. But here, there is partial light, so you are able to see that there is something lying on the road. But there is not sufficient light for you to know that it is a rope. Okay? So this argument is important to understand. There is partial light, so you know something is there. There is partial darkness, so you are not able to see that it is a rope. And therefore, and this is the most important part, therefore, you have two things: partial knowledge of the rope and partial ignorance of the rope. Right? The knowledge that there is something on the road, that is partial knowledge. The ignorance that it is a rope, that is partial ignorance. And that's very important. There is partial knowledge and there is partial ignorance. Now, because of the rope ignorance, the partial rope ignorance, no, I won't say partial, rope ignorance, that partial ignorance of what that object is on the road, that is called rope ignorance because you don't know it's a rope. Now, because of that rope ignorance, what happens? There is an error in my mind. I mistake it as a snake. Okay. Please follow the sequence of the logic. there is partial light, there is partial darkness. Because of the partial light, I know there is something. That is partial knowledge. And because of the partial ignorance, I don't know that it is a rope. That is rope ignorance. Because of the rope ignorance, there is an error projected. That error is the snake. Right? The rope ignorance therefore projects the error, which is the snake perception. The rope ignorance is the cause of the error, which is the perception of the snake. Right? What is the corollary? The error of snake perception is possible only when there is rope ignorance. And if you generalize that, any error, you convert it into a general rule. Any error is possible only if there is ignorance. Right? If there was no rope ignorance, I would clearly see the rope as a rope and there I would not mistake it as snake. Therefore, the ignorance is the cause, the karanam, and the error is the karya. That's the first pair of words we have to remember. Karanam and karyam, cause and effect. Ignorance is the cause, the karanam, and the error is the product, the karyam. And now Gaudapada is telling us that when you take these four padas, the four padas are what? The Prathama pada, Dvitiya pada, Tritiya pada, and Chaturtha pada. The four padas you take, you can see that the entire life, our entire life as a human being, is nothing but this pair. There is ignorance and there is ignorance generated error. That is the definition of a human life. Why do we say that? Because the seventh mantra very clearly says that Chaturtham, Turyam, is your essential nature. Limitlessness is my nature, but I am not born with knowledge that I am limitless. And that is the tragedy, because though I am limitless, when I am born, I don't have the knowledge that I am limitless. I have the knowledge I am. That is partial knowledge of I. But I don't know I am Brahman, which is the partial ignorance. Self-ignorance is there. And because I do not know that I am limitless, what happens? The ignorance is what? I don't know that I am limitless. That is Atma Ajnanam. Because of that Atma Ajnanam, the error is that I think I am a limited person. This becomes the error born out of the ignorance of the limitless I. Therefore, Atma Ajnanam leads to the error that I am a human being, that I am Vishwa, I am Tajasa, all these things I know. Ignorance is the cause, and the limited I, the finite I, the Vishwa, the Tajasa, all this is the product, the error. So when I am Vishwa, I talk about things like my attributes, my possessions, my date of birth. So Vishwa is the first error. The first limited I is the error. Similarly, Taijasa is the second limited I, the error. In Sushupti Avastha, I don't say I am limited. Because in Sushupti Avastha, the mind is resolved. So for you, there is no concept of time and space. Time and space appear only as long as there is a mind. And because there is no concept of time and space, you don't say that I am limited in Sushupti Avastha. Right? So, in Jagrata Avastha, there is the presence of the limited finite I as Vishwa. In Swapna Avastha, there is the presence of the limited finite I as Tajasa. But in Sushupti Avastha, the limitless I is present. The limited I is not there. Okay, that's a very important uh, idea to absorb. The limit in Sushupti Avastha, you are limitless. If you were not limitless, what would be the difference? Supposing, for example, okay, I'll just amend that statement. In the Sushupti Avastha, the limitless I is very much present. But the knowledge that I am limitless is not present. In Jagrata Avastha, the limited I is present because you think I am limited. In Swapna Avastha, the limited I is present because you think I am limited. In Sushupti Avastha, you do not think you are limited because the mind is not there. And therefore, the limitless I is very much present. But the problem is that along with the limitless I, what is present is ajnanam of the limitless I. It's a very peculiar case. You don't say you are limitless because your mind is not there. So limitless I is present. But the knowledge of the limitless I is not present. What is the proof? If in Sushupti Avastha you knew that you were limitless, when you wake up, you would say that I am limitless. I was limitless, I am limitless. But you don't say that, right? So the prajna is the ignorance of the limitless I. It is a limitless I combined with the ignorance of the limitless I. I hope I am making sense. Very, very involved arguments.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, this Turim is free from limited I. What are the limited I's? Vishwa and Tajasa. Turim is also free from the ignorance of the limitless I, which is prajna. Therefore, Turyam is free from what? Limited I as well as ignorance of the limited I. So, limited I is Vishwa and Tajasa. Ignorance of the limitless I is prajna. Therefore, prajna can be taken as ignorance of the limitless I, which is the karanam for what? Karanam for limited I. And therefore, prajna, which is ignorance of limitless I, can be taken as the cause for the limited I, which are Vishwa and Tajasa. Are we on track?
Yes, Ajahn.
Okay.
Will you please repeat the last sentence?
Okay. I'll come back to where I started from over there. In the Jagrata Avastha, the I is limited, right? Because you think I'm a human being, I'm a man, I'm a boy, all those things you think. So, the I is limited to Jagrata Avastha. Similarly, for the dreamer, he is limited in the Swapna because he knows I am here and the world is different, there's my enemy in front of me. So, dreamer also is limited I. Therefore, in Jagrat and Swapna Avastha, the limited I is present and the knowledge of the fact that I am limited is present in both these avasthas. In Sushupti Avastha, the mind is resolved. So the knowledge of limitation is not there. Therefore, limitless I is present in Sushupti Avastha. However, The fact that I am the limitless I is not there. That knowledge that I am the limitless I is not there. Right? That's why prajna, prakarshena agnya, ignorant of everything, including the fact that I am the limitless I. So, two is free from three things. Vishwa, Tajasa, Prajna. Vishwa and Tajasa are what? Are limited eyes. Prajna is what? Prakrashena Agnya. Ignorance of the limitless eye. What is the cause for limited eye? Ignorance of limitless eye. What is limited eye? Vishwa Tajasa. What is the name for ignorance of limitless eye? Prakarshena Agnya. Prajna. Therefore, prajna is the cause for Vishwa and Tajasa. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Which is to say that ignorance of your real nature as limitless I is the reason for the emergence of the limited eyes, the Vishwa and Tajasa. Now, in these karikas, Gaudapada uses four sets of expressions to convey the same idea. And they refer to the same words, so I'll just explain. Ignorance is called agrahanam. Agrahanam means non-grasping, non-comprehension. So agrahanam is the word used for ignorance. What is the product of ignorance? Error. What is error? Understanding something other than what it is. So for error, he uses the word anyatha grahanam. Anyatha grahanam means understanding it as different from what it really is. In other words, wrongly understanding. In other words, error. Therefore, ignorance is agrahanam. Error, he says, anyatha grahanam. That is one pair. Right? Then, ignorance is what? Karanam. And error is what? Karyam. That is another pair. So, Grahanam, Agrahanam, Anyata Grahanam is one pair. Karanam, Karyam is one more pair. Then he used the word bija, seed, for ignorance. And he uses the word Angura for error. What is the connection?
The seed and sprout.
Seed and sprout. Ankura is the sprout.
Ankura is the sprout.
Bija is the ignorance and Ankura is the error. That is one more set of words he uses. Bija, Ankura. So, Agrahanam, Anyata Agrahanam, Karanam, Karyam, Bija, Ankuraha, and one more set of words. He calls ignorance Nidra. Nidra, you're referring to Shupti. No, they are referring to the state. So, Nidra is during sleep, you have ignorance. And it refers to the error as Swapna. Right? So, another set of words. Ignorance is called Nidra, and the product, the error is called Swapna. This ignorance that you are the waker, that is what he is referring to, Nidra, and that ignorance is leading to the dream, the Swapna. And therefore, you have to keep these four sets of words in mind. What are the four sets? Agrahanam, Anyata Grahanam, Karanam, Karyam, Bija Ankuraha, Nidra, Swapna. Keeping these four words, sets of words, we are going to study Vishwa, Tajasa, Prajna and Turyam. Right? Remember that an error is always born out of ignorance. Error always born out of ignorance. Wherever knowledge is there, error cannot be there. And that is why ignorance is karanam and error is karyam. Okay. So now let us reclassify them into the ignorance and the ignorance product. So there are 8 expressions we have seen, 8 words we have seen. Let us reclassify them under two heads. Ajnanam, Ajnana Karyam. That means ignorance and products of ignorance. So each head will have four words. Right. So let us first see the Ajnanam category, ignorance category. What are the four words you have used? Nidra. Nidra is called, ignorance is called Nidra because when we are asleep, it means that we are ignorant to the fact that we are the waker. Right. Agrahanam means non-perception. Rope ignorance is nothing but non-perception of the fact that a rope is there. Then ignorance is referred to as karanam. The reason is very simple because ignorance is always the karanam for the error. Then bijam, it's very evident why it's called that. Because just as a sprout will emerge from a seed, similarly, ignorance emerges from the, no, sorry, not emergence. The error emerges from ignorance, right? That's why it's called a seed. Okay. So rope ignorance, remember, is a seed not just for the snake. It can lead to various products. Like Shastra uses words like you mistake it as a garland, you mistake it as a crack on the earth, you mistake it as a stick lying on the road. So there are very many products. So ignorance is one, but products are many. Therefore, all these conceptions are sprouts born from one bijam, from one ignorant seed. Okay. Now, that is the four categories of the ignorance. Now, let us look at the four categories of the product of ignorance, ajnana karyam, otherwise called error. So, the first one is swapna. Error is referred to as a dream because in dream, all the perceptions are not real as far as Jagrata Avastha is concerned. So all non-factual experiences and therefore Swapna is the error. Then the second one is Anyatha Grahanam. Anyatha Grahanam means understanding something as other than what really is. That's also error. Karyam is product. Why? Because error is always a product born out of ignorance. Ignorance is the mother, error is the child. And Ankuraha, error is called a sprout because the Ajnana Bijam, the seed of ignorance, always sprouts into an error. So these are the four sets we have seen in two ways. We have seen the word pairs and we have seen them classified under the classification of Ajnanam and Ajnana Karyam. Right, now we can go to the text. So which we just read, the 11th Karika, Ishyete. Ishyete means considered to be. So Vishwa, Karya, Karana, Baddhau. So Vishwa is the Prathama Pada. Prathama Pada associated with Karanam and Karyam. Vishwa, Karya, Karana, Baddhau. Prathama Pada, the Vishwa, is associated with the Karanam and the Karyam, which is the ignorance and the error. What is the ignorance? Ignorance of the fact that I am Turiam. Because of that ignorance, what is the error? I am Jivatma, I am a miserable samsari. This is the error. So I am the limitless Paramatma, Turiam is not known. This is the Karanam. I am the limited individual, miserable Jivatma is known. This is the product, the Karyam. Therefore, what is important to note is that Vishwa has ignorance as well as the error. Okay, we have to note here that Vishwa has got the qualities of ignorance and the error. Both are there. Then, Isyate Aijaso Karya Karana Baddhau. Taijasa, the dreamer, Dvitiya Pada has the same problems. He is associated with Karanam, ignorance, and Karyam, error. During dream, I am ignorant of the fact that I am the limitless Turyam, and therefore I commit the error of taking myself as the limited dream Jivatma, suffering from dream samsara. So here also the Tajasa has got ignorance and error. So I am repeating this because it's important for understanding. Vishwa has got ignorance and error. Tajasa also has got ignorance and error. Then comes tu. Tu means but, whereas. Whereas prajna karana baddha. So that baddha, baddhau, when you say ishyate vishva tajaso baddha, the Vishwa is bound by ignorance and error. Tajasa is bound by ignorance and error, whereas Prajna Karana Baddha, Prajna, the third pada, is bound only by Karana, by ignorance only. He has no error. So that's being conveyed. That Vishwa has ignorance and error, bound by ignorance and error. Tajasa bound by ignorance and error, while the prajna is bound only by ignorance. For him, he knows that he is limitless. He does not know that he is limitless thorium, though he is very much limitless thorium. But though he does not know that he is limitless thorium, which is the karanam, he does not make the mistake of thinking that he is the finite jivatma, because the mind is resolved. And therefore, in the prajna, you have ignorance, but it is error-free ignorance. While in Vishwa and Tajasa, it is error as well as ignorance. Ignorance and the product, the error, are there for Vishwa and Tajasa. But for the prajna, the product is not there. Only the ignorance is there. And if you ask why does he not make the mistake of saying I am Jivatma, it is because the mind is resolved. And in the resolved state, the mind cannot make a mistake. Okay? That's why it's called Prakarshena Agnaha, totally ignorant. Okay, so the idea here is to remember that ignorance becomes a problem only when that ignorance is mixed with erroneous perception. When there is no error, ignorance is not a problem. And that's why we say total ignorance is bliss. It becomes a problem only when the error arises. And if you want to get an example, you can think of walking on the same village road, but when on a moonless night, without a torch and with no light at all, completely dark, but you are familiar with the road, so are able to walk. And if there is a rope there, you won't see it. And since you won't see it, there is no rope ignorance. And if there is no rope ignorance, there is no snake either. And since you do not see a snake, there is no fear of the snake. There is no samsara. Samsara arises only when ignorance leads to error, which requires partial ignorance and partial knowledge. That is why a person Sushupti Avastha who has only total ignorance, Prajna has only total ignorance, he has no samsara at all. He is always free from samsara. What about Turyam? That is the last line. Dvau tau Turya na siddhate, na siddhyataha. So, Turyaha na siddhyataha tau dau. In Turyam, tau dau, both those two, na siddhyataha, are not there. Which two? Ignorance as well as the ignorance generated error are not present in thorium because thorium is pure consciousness not associated with ignorance or error. In fact, on the other hand, the thorium is the ruler of both the factors of the ignorance as well as the error. And though it is revealer, it is not tainted by either the ignorance or the error. Why is the thorium not tainted by ignorance or error? That we will see in the next class. Any questions? Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Om
Thank you,
Om.
Ravi.